I think it's clear that they can quote 500 passages or 500 statements. They absolutely can do that. I'm saying that their position cannot be true. It cannot be true because if their position is correct, we will not be able to have another pope. It would take God to come down from the sky and write it in fire that we've elected this particular pope. Now, is that plausible? Or could it be that the Diamond Brothers have it wrong? That there has not been a Sedevacantism period for the last 50 years, or roughly 50 years. Think about if what they're saying is true, and this is why I say it cannot be true. If what they're saying is true, it appears to be Vatican I is a lie. Because in order for the papacy to be the papacy, not only would Peter have successors in perpetuity, but the faithful would have to know who the Pope is. It only makes sense. Think about that. What kind of church would it be if there was a Pope but nobody knew who he was? That's their position. They have not addressed it. In order to win the debate, they needed to, and they haven't done it. Matter of fact, if you go back and roll the tape, when I asked them how they would know another pope was pope, they simply have to say, I don't know. Well, in other cases back in history, the Roman clergy did, but we don't know. Number one, that creates a couple of problems. Number one, according to them, I'm not even sure if we have a Roman clergy. That's one. Again, in order for it to be a valid Roman cleric, number one, they would have to be Sedevacantists, according to them. Number two, they would have to accept all their extreme views, like extra ecclesiam nobis salus, in the strictest sense, that water baptism is absolutely necessary, or they wouldn't be a valid Roman cleric. I mean, you can probably search the streets of Rome. I don't think there is one. And even if that's the case, even if you could find a Roman clergy, we still wouldn't know if that was valid, because we've never had this happen in history where you've had a papal election where the whole electorate is dead. We don't have that. So how do we get out of this crisis? If you're following the Diamond's logic. If you're following the Diamond's logic, number one, you have no hierarchy. You have no pope. You have no bishops that have ordinary jurisdiction because they get their jurisdiction from the Holy Roman Pontiff. You have no way of knowing when there'll be another pope. As a matter of fact, there may be another pope if you follow the Diamond logic. Maybe they just don't know who he is. Maybe he's made a pronouncement on a doctrinal matter. I mean, do you see the absurdity in this? They can quote all the documents they want. They can interpret it. And not only that, why haven't they elected him? I mean, by now, if there was a legitimate Roman clergy, wouldn't you think after 50 years they would elect the Pope? I mean, to have a visible head. I mean, and as time, what are they going to do in 10 years from now? What are they going to do in 20 years from now? What are they going to do in 30 years from now when there's still no Pope? Eventually, you're going to have to wake up and say, whoa, we're prideful. We don't want to admit this, but we're wrong. In our sense of logic here, how are we ever going to get another Pope? We have no College of Cardinals. We have nothing. I mean, it's eventually you have to sit back and you have to say to yourself, well, we may have made a mistake here. Maybe our conclusions that we're drawing are not true. And I think that if you think back and you look and you say to yourself, if I follow the diamonds, I don't have a hierarchy. That's against what Vatican I taught. I don't have a pope. That's not in and of itself against what Vatican I taught. But when I don't have a hierarchy and I don't have a college of cardinals to elect another pope, how am I going to know if there is a pope? As a matter of fact, I didn't even think of this before. Maybe I should have asked them this. Maybe they can address this in their closing remarks. But how do they know there isn't a pope elected? There may be. Maybe there is a pope there. I mean, if you want to follow your logic, maybe he got elected by someone, the Roman clergy, the Sedevacantism Roman clergy, and maybe the see isn't vacant. How do they know? Following their logic. I think it's very, very clear that the Diamond Brothers are correct, that they may quote a lot of documents. They may be good debaters. They may be well read on these things, and I'll give them credit for that. But I think the basic premise of their position can't be supported because the papal see is vacant. There's no way anyone's going to ever know if their position is correct. No one's ever going to know when we're going to have another pope. They don't even know if we have a pope right now, because how could they? So I think if the people listening to this debate could take a hard look and ask themselves that very question and think about some of the, in my opinion, absurd conclusions that have to be drawn, like Sister Lucy was kidnapped and killed, and there's now an imposter, and that we don't have a pope, and now we don't know if we're ever going to get a pope again, or there could be a pope now because we don't know. I mean, if you follow their conclusions, that's what you're going to have to conclude. You're going to have to conclude that, number one, we don't know how we're going to get another pope. Number two, there may be a pope now because we don't know how he would get elected. And number three, we know that Peter's supposed to have perpetual successors. So it raises a lot of problems for the Sedevacantists. They can quote a lot of passages. That's the bread and butter of their argument. And again, I think they're smart to do so, but you have to keep in mind they have 47 years of papal speeches, documents, and they can proof text their way through anything. And like I said, I've made the offer. You want to pick your top 3, top 4 votes? We'll talk about them. We'll debate it. I want to reiterate thanks to the Diamond. This is my second time I've actually done a formal debate, and I think it was a good experience. I just hope that everyone can hone in and ask themselves that question, that very question that I've posed throughout this debate, that I believe that I've hammered home, and that I don't believe that the Diamonds have answered. How will we know when there'll be another pope? Who's going to elect it? Is there a pope even now? Because they don't know. If he got elected yesterday, they wouldn't know. Okay? And that creates all kinds of problems. Just think about it. What if he made an infallible pronouncement? What if he excommunicated someone? What if he made a disciplinary law? Now, I'm not saying people would be bound by that because they wouldn't know, but wouldn't it make sense? Does it make sense, their position, that the faithful simply don't know if there's a pope or how there will be a pope? It simply doesn't make sense. I mean, that's what you're going to have to believe if you accept their position. Again, I want to thank you, and I think that's all I have. So they can do their last 15 minutes.